Hello and welcome to Tabletop Sim Tips and Tricks. This is the video that I wish I would have had when I was first using Tabletop Sim, and now that we're all sitting at home playing games on Tabletop Sim, I thought what better time than now to make such a video. The first thing that you will want to do when you join a Tabletop Sim game is pick your seat. You'll notice that I am currently a spectator, and so if I click on my name in the top right, I can change my color and pick a seat. The number of seats and colors will be based on the table in the game, so I will pick red here. Once I am in, I now have the ability to control my movement and screen using the WASD for movement, right click and drag to change the angle of rotation, the scroll wheel to zoom in and out, and left click to interact with objects and to select multiple with a click and drag. Some of the basic controls that we will want to use are rotation. When hovering over or holding an object, we can press E and Q to rotate the object. You'll notice that it only rotates right now at 15 degrees. This can be changed in the top right here by changing the rotation degrees. Simply clicking on it will change to the different possible degree angles. I usually recommend 90. We can also change the lift height for how high your hand will drag the items. Long pressing left click, I can drag this entire deck, but if I quickly left click and drag, I can draw one item. From here, I can place it into a player's hand, and you'll notice that when the object is in another player's hand, I cannot see the object. It shows up as this joker, or this question mark for this card deck. Depending on the deck, it will be a different icon. Usually it is just the back of the card. And you'll notice I can hit F to flip the card. When it is in my hand, I will be able to see the card, and I will also be able to see the hand at the bottom of my screen, regardless of the angle. I can rotate this card, like so. I can flip it with F. I can lock it in place with L. You'll see now it is not interactable. This is great when locking a component onto the board. And I can also zoom by holding Alt, which will show me the back, and if I flip it, the front of the card. If I needed to peek at the card, I could hold Shift and Alt to look at the bottom of the card. You will notice when I do that, it puts an eyeball on it, marking that I am peeking at it. This same functionality exists on decks. I can right-click and search the deck, and I can see all items in the deck that you can search on the text. Because these are just numbered, the only thing to search on would be the number of the card in the deck. That is less helpful here. And when clicking on these, I can hold Alt to zoom, which the zoom can be adjusted with the scroll wheel. So once again, while zooming, I can adjust that with the scroll wheel. And when picking a card, I can drag the card out and drop it on the table, and it will keep it in the facing of the deck. So if I flip the deck and pull out this 9, for example, it will face upward. This is the same with hands. So when I have a card in my hand and I want to put it face down on the table, it is good to flip it first, then drop it onto the table. When drawing cards, I can click and drag, as we talked about, but that would be very inefficient when trying to draw 5 cards. So I can also left click to drag, and right click while holding an object to draw additional cards. That would allow me to put all of these cards into my hand. Or I can also, there we are. I can also press a number. I can hit 5 here, and it will draw 5 cards from the deck. Now you'll notice that when I was dragging this around, it was kind of catching on this player's hand, and when I kind of shook it around, the deck kind of went together. So there are 2 ways to group objects. You can select a bunch of objects and hit G to group them. You can also shake them. So if I were to grab these and shake the hand, it will kind of do a pseudo group. Not quite as cleanly grouped as the G button. That will also allow you to shuffle. So if we were to go into the Objects panel and get ourselves a die, we will get a D12, and place it on the board. And you'll notice this is almost a placement stamper, so I can place multiple and then hit escape to go back to the list, and hit escape again to close it. But once I have dice, I can shake those to kind of randomize those. I can roll them, like so. I can also press R to roll the die. But if that is less satisfying for you, you can always roll it on the table. We can shuffle decks as well with R, so it is the randomize button. And we can even shuffle bags. Now you'll notice this bag is currently locked, which means that I cannot drag it around. And so to shuffle it, I would either need to right click and press shuffle, or if I right click and then left click on it, it will remain selected and I can press R to shuffle it. If I wanted to unlock it, I could press L to then allow me to move the bag around. Keep in mind that not all users will always have privileges to lock. Sometimes you may need to promote a user, which you can do from this top right menu. But once an object is locked in place, it is easy to click and drag or right click to drag a bunch of items out of it. When it is locked, I can left click and right click immediately. But if the bag is not locked and I left click and right click, it will pick the bag up with its tokens, which you may not want. So locking bags is highly recommended. If I want to call another player's attention to something on the board, I can hit Tab to create a pointer, like so. And I can do that anywhere that I point my mouse. And I can also hold Tab to quickly measure. This may be useful in some war games, but mostly is useful in showing your friends something. You could say, this bag is related with this piece for some reason. And the other players will see that, in addition to the ping. If, for some reason, I needed to draw from the bottom of the deck, while holding a deck of cards, I can also hold Alt and right-click to drop a card from the bottom of the deck. This is very useful in games where the cards are required to be drawn from the bottom of the deck. This same method can be used to place single items. For example, if I wished to drop one card into this bag from the bottom, I could simply hold Alt and right-click to drop that single item. Once again, I can left-click and right-click to drag the items back out, and we've now got a token sitting under these cards. There we go. And I can group these once again. If I select all of these and press G, it will group the deck and leave the token nearby. Another important thing that you may use is the camera positions. If, for example, let us retrieve a game board, go into the Objects menu and get a game board. I can stamp the game board in, and now that it is on the board, I can place my pieces on it, like so. And if I wanted to quickly look at the board, and then quickly look at something in my hand, or something on the table in front of me, maybe a player board, I could set camera positions. If I hold Shift, Control, and 1, I can set the first camera, and I can come over here and Shift, Control, 2 to set the second camera. This can also be done from the right-click menu. We have the Save and Load Camera. And then, once the camera positions are saved, and I'm going to go ahead and save one here as well at an odd angle, if I hold Shift and press 1, it will zoom to my camera position and rotate to my second camera and to my third camera. This is quite handy when jumping around the board to look at things. You will notice that some boards and objects have snap points. This allows the object to sit in the correct spot on the board. However, sometimes these snap points are problematic, or maybe you want to put a piece where it should not go. If that is the case, you can, while left-clicking, right-click to push the piece down onto the board and place it where you would like, and letting go of left-click first to place it in. Notice that if I let go of right-click first, it will lift the piece and put it back into the snap points. So I can drag it precisely in the middle of this square and let go of left click first. Notice that when doing this drag, it will also push other objects around. So be careful. Normally, left click and drag will hover over other objects, but this is not the case when forcing it down.